I'll do.
Hello.
Hey.
All right. Hello, everybody. And let's get this social started. Welcome to the second Zoom social for the Winnipeg Worldcon in 2023 bid. This event is being held on Sunday, June 13th, 2021. I'm Laurie E. Smith, and I'll be your host this evening as we explore our bid committee strategy, including an open Q&A session, which I will moderate. Our social today is small enough that obviously we can ask folks to unmute their microphones to ask questions, and there's also a raise hand function you can use. And I guess the first person we should probably start with is Terry as our bid committee chair. I'll turn the meeting over to you, Terry. Is there anything you'd like to say starting out for the folks who may be tuning in on YouTube?
Hi.
No.
Vote? Okay, no, seriously. We are really looking forward to bringing the Worldcon to Winnipeg again after 29 years of an absence, and we're hoping to what's the word I'm looking for? Repeat the same kind of experience we had in '94 with the community-oriented Worldcon. I mean, I don't think it'll be a very large Worldcon by modern standards, but I think it'll be lots of fun. That's it.
Okay.
That's my message for today.
Alrighty. Covert, you had a question. What was it?
Well, I'll be running a party 3 nights at DisCon, but it occurred to me, rather than myself and all the bids each buying our own wristbands for age verification, that yes, you can be served alcohol, whether the bids were interested in going in with me and on a common wristband system, where basically I would order I haven't figured out how many thousand wristbands, and we'd all chip in for the cost.
What are the prices like?
That's an interesting idea.
I'll take a step back just for 1 second, because I know you live in the neighborhood, Covert. What are DC's alcohol regulations like? Because DisCon hasn't said anything yet.
Oh, well, it's 28, drinking age is 21 for all alcohol.
Hello, Taylor.
So it is need to have some indicator indicating either you can drink or you can't drink, one or the other. Usually people have gone with wristbands to indicate people who are of age.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, we're good with that. It's part of ours is a little bit of a wait and see approach, because DisCon has yet to tell us, whether or not we can actually serve drinks and what kind of food service what kind of COVID restrictions we might be under.
Yeah.
But in principle, yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah. Thank you for the offer. We'll keep it in mind. Antonio,
Thank you for the offer. Keep us on your list, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
Much as
Antonio.
I am assuming that the bids will have first crack at the presidential suites. The prices are actually quite modest, which is why they'll be intense.
Hello, Antonio. Welcome.
Hi.
But I'm expecting that at least at this point, 5 of the suites are going to be bids, and another one will be SIFWA, which means I'm looking, the likelihood of my getting one is a little iffy, but Bill is encouraged, since the chair is encouraging me to run my party, I imagine I will probably get the next tier down, which means that I will probably need some sort of wristband system.
Right.
Hello, Evan. Welcome.
One.
I do have a question about your party. Do you run your party every night of the convention, or just like one night?
On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There is my current. And then I'm leaving Saturday night to the other special parties.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I mean, we are willing, if we get the presidential suite, as we have requested.
Antonio, you're coming through really kind of warbly, like your sound isn't solid.
Okay.
Yeah, you're understandable, but kind of.
Okay.
So what I was trying to track here is that we have requested a presidential suite, and we're already, and if you know of anybody who just wants the suite for one night, we're willing to sublet, is what I'm attempting to say.
Terry
When-
You're having
Sullivan,
my problem. English not spoken here.
Yeah.
Terry
we-
Sullivan is approached me about subletting, so I will let her know that if you get a presidential, you're willing to sublet.
Right,
don't
and,
think-
and usually what we find most effective is that way I can go to the Costco or whatever and pick up the basic rudimentary supplies, you know, napkins, cutlery, cups, et cetera, and then everybody can just pay a little bit for their portion of those supplies, and it'll be easier than everybody having to go shop for party supplies themselves.
Yeah.
Unless they want something very specialized.
Well, Terry will be bringing her own beer because that's what the focus of it. But
Right.
I'd like to invite at this point questions from Avin, Taylor, or Antonio who have just joined us. Did you guys have any particular questions you'd like to ask the bid committee? You're all muted, so you'll have to unmute if you want to ask, or you can type it into the, I see Taylor says no ma'am. And you can type questions into the chat as well.
Come home and I
Aw,
don't.
puppy.
You see, petting the dog is one of the most relaxing things you could possibly do.
Puppy.
You're getting a lot of echo feedback.
Puppy.
Puppy photobomb. Oh no, that's fine. Puppy photobomb, always a good thing.
Sorry, puppies. Cats.
Puppies,
red
cats,
pandas,
Critters of any kind.
snakes, guinea pigs. We're pretty much an all-inclusive
things.
pet
Anything.
organization.
Yeah, we pretty much appreciate critters of any kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it doesn't look like anyone has any particular questions for the bid committee. Is there anything that any member of the bid committee would like to communicate to the folks here who are not on the bid committee?
Please help us.
Yes.
We
Conventions,
appreciate you stopping in, and we look forward to, if with any luck, having them drop by at the party in DC. And don't forget to vote.
Well, that and we have other things going on this summer that encourage engagement. So definitely spread the news. We have all of the social media that we've got, and we'll probably add a couple more. But
and we're also going to have like contests and things happening during the
Yes,
summer and
exactly.
fall, so
not going to reveal them all, so you'll just have to wait for the surprise.
yeah. But can we talk about the one about the cold drink?
You can go ahead and talk about the setup for it.
They basically, Winnipeg is the Slurpee Manitoba, the Slurpee capital of Canada. And so the Concom for Winnipeg in 23, or the bid committee Concom for Winnipeg in 23, is planning a slushy contest. Basically, we're looking for extremes of temperature. Take a picture of yourself with your favorite slushy in the hottest conditions or the coldest conditions you can find. Yes, this does include walk-in freezers and possibly tanning booths if they'll let you. And so that's one of the contests that we're thinking of holding in the coming months.
Right at the height of summer, when it's, you know, when we're in extremes of weather.
Oh, puppy getting his head rubbed.
does that include extremes of temperature? The beverage
Extremes of temperature, what?
of the beverage itself. Since at 4th of July, I'm at a household where they use liquid nitrogen to make ice cream.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Yes.
we'll have to talk about that. That's a cool idea, literally.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what would happen to a slushy when it's exposed to nitrogen. I don't know.
My favorite thing in the whole world is ice cream in the middle of winter because it's wonderful.
Mhm.
I wonder
don't
if you
have
make
slushies in the
slushy
UK.
float.
Well, ice cream's wonderful in the winter because it doesn't melt.
Liquid nitrogen ice cream isn't especially cold when you eat it, but it's
There's a turtle on a
much creamier.
Yes, Daddy.
Turtle on a treadmill. And Carl just posted.
Oh,
in the
yes,
chat-
Daddy.
Carl just posted into the chat the links to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have a Twitch TV account. I believe I really should know the name of the Twitch TV thing because I actually set it up. Winnipeg Worldcon 2023 is the Twitch name. So there's that too. So yeah, we got tons of stuff coming up in the weeks to come.
Doggy again.
Dog bone. I actually did want to talk a bit with the permission of the higher level of Concom, a little bit about what Tourism Winnipeg is talking about with us. This is all available in our bid paperwork section of our website.
That's Zoom bombing.
Yeah.
All right, we're done with that? Okay.
Yep. Yep. So if nobody objects, I'd just like to talk a little bit about what Tourism Winnipeg has been talking to us about, which I think is so totally cool. Pre-convention, they're talking about a customized micro website with helpful links that delegates can navigate, so delegates can navigate more easily around the city. Bilingual, that is French and English local publications and maps for participant bags and or the registration table, as well as information regarding Winnipeg's Flash Your Badge program that offers discounts on attractions, tours, and many other hospitality partners during the conference. They're also talking about providing during a Winnipeg in 2023 Worldcon, a visitor information booth at the host hotel, which is the Delta, supplying Winnipeg brochures and information and staffed by their friendly, knowledgeable visitor experience team at peak times of the day. They're also talking, and of course this can change, about a delegate attendance incentive, a $500 Visa gift card drawn for your delegates to win. As part of this incentive, they would ask delegates to take a photo of themselves experiencing the city and tag the photo with hashtag meetings in Winnipeg on Twitter or Instagram to automatically be entered to win the card. Now, if that goes over, I think that would be tremendously cool. Tremendously cool.
It would be cool.
It would be amazing if it works out, and I hope it does. But that is one of the things that Tourism Winnipeg is talking about, and it's in our bid paperwork. So you can go and have a look at all the cool things that they're looking at offering us. You know, at your convenience. It's all right there. Oh, and yesterday we had a question about room nights available. The Delta, I'm just scrolling to the Delta. And of course now okay, where are you? I believe the Delta has reserved, here we are. 2,200 guest rooms nights are secured from August 22nd to August 29th, 2023, and they will hold that block for us until the end of the year.
Cool.
So that's quite a few room nights now, and that's just at the Delta. Now, Linda, do you know, does that include, is that like at just the Delta downtown, or is it the Delta hotels in the area? Because I think they have more than one.
That's just the Delta adjacent
Downtown.
to the convention center. Yeah.
Okay, so that's just that one. So
yeah,
basically
we have everything the Delta's got.
Yeah, that's the hotel that's attached to the convention center by Skywalk, and it's literally across the side street from the convention center.
Yeah, and as you say, it's a Skywalk connection. So if people have mobility issues and so on, they can just use the Skywalk, and it'll take them straight to the second level of the convention center, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, once Winnipeg wins the bid, other hotels will immediately start, you know,
yes, jumping
on the bandwagon.
Oh no. We actually negotiate the contracts before we win.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are any of those negotiations, are they still in progress, or do we have any other room numbers?
No, they are still ongoing.
Okay, so we don't have any room numbers yet from anything other than the Delta.
I believe our base negotiations is for somewhere between 17 to 2,000 rooms, and then we add on as demand increases.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
just to be clear, with the initial proposal that we received from tourism, we had letters of commitment from about every single hotel.
Okay, that's good. A question that was asked last night, which I think could be pertinent, is facilities for people with mobility issues. Like, how does that look in terms of the hotels in downtown Winnipeg? Are there a lot of rooms like that available with, like, you know, roll-in showers and stuff like that?
It very much depends upon the hotel. I'm going to get exact numbers out of Winnipeg Tourism. I'm going to ask them for that on Monday, and that will be added to the information that we put out on the website and the Twitch and things like that for people as soon as we have it confirmed.
Will it be added? Will it be added, do you think, in a blog post, or?
We will add it in a blog post, and the other reassurance that we can offer with the access is that we do have Lee Amber, who has committed to helping us, and she's
Yes, and
a
she's-
rehabilitation specialist.
Yes, and she's also an expert at dealing with hotels because she does it for KeyCon a lot.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if I could say one thing, most of the people that have issues, they're not going to need a roll-in shower. They're going to need a room where they don't have to walk very far. Because you'll get an awful lot of people who can walk a bit. They can take a shower and all, but they don't want to walk blocks and blocks to get to the convention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think Linda was talking a bit about maybe doing like some shuttles from
Well, yeah,
the hotels in the area.
When we do it, when we hit the evening, we'll probably be doing evening shuttles if there's enough interest in that. And that means that we will probably get a handicapped accessible, i.e. wheelchair accessible vehicle for that as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, as soon as the person last night mentioned it, I immediately thought back to when my husband broke his leg, and oh my God, how would he attend a Worldcon without things in place?
Yeah, and you know, like the convention center itself is handicapped accessible, and as a matter of fact, even before they doubled up the size of the convention center, before we did the 94 Worldcon, one of the things that occurred in the convention center prior to us being there was a world accessibility conference. And the convention center itself had a excellent rating from that organization.
Tremendous. One thing I would like to recommend in terms of, I don't know if this would be diversity department or what, but this is what ICON does here in Winnipeg. ICON is our local Japanese pop culture and entertainment expo. And what they do, which I thought was brilliant, because I just attended my first one in 2019 and this blew me away. They have a room set aside. Right next to the entrance to that room is the St. John's ambulance desk where you can go for help. But the room itself is a quiet space for people with sensory processing issues, or maybe anxiety or panic issues where they just need a quiet place to go and kind of, cool down. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. They had like snacks and drinks, and they had like weighted blankets and things.
Yeah,
And
that's the standard thing for Worldcons to set aside.
it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because that would be, if it's standard, then yeah, it's going to be there and it'll be super. Covert Beach just posted into the chat, Delta property details, 17 floors, 382 rooms, 11 suites, 11 meeting rooms, 19,099 square feet of total meeting space.
Yeah,
because if I understand,
we have all the meeting rooms. I think they've in their initial agreement said they would give us 300 rooms.
Okay.
And probably the 11 suites too. I forget exactly.
And Delta is also going to be one of the overflow spaces, isn't it, for programming?
Yeah, that's why we had the 11 meeting rooms.
Okay, there you go.
We actually
hello, Mick.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Terry. Sorry, you were saying.
No. I thought we needed the Delta's meeting space, though.
Like, how big are their meeting rooms? Do you know?
I don't remember offhand. I mean, it's on their floor plans. So.
Okay, so people can check the floor plans if they're curious about that at all.
And we actually do need the rooms for with well, I thought at the time we might need them for office space, maybe not as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's going to be, of course, a question decided closer to the convention is where the heck are you going to pop, ops, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
no, actually, it will be decided as soon as I come down for a site inspection.
Okay.
Yeah, which I am tentatively thinking of doing over Halloween weekend.
Ooh, okay. Actually,
Because
Halloween weekend will be right about when the big Winnipeg Comic Con is happening.
it is that weekend.
It is that
And
weekend.
It is that weekend. I'd like to see the convention center in operation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hello, Xavier. Welcome. So yeah, you would be able to see the convention center in operation at that point, because I believe
Yeah.
the dates for the Comic Con are October 28th to 29th, 30th, and 31st, I believe.
Yes.
Are their
Yeah, they are.
dates.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you popped into the convention center and wandered around, you could get to at least some of what's there and have a look.
Although I'll probably end up helping the Comic Con because I know the people who run it.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Oh, so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Of course, you're in Montreal.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, you'd know them.
Yeah. Well, no, not of course. It's a big city, but we actually help. We actually help run an anime convention here. So.
Yeah, it's I've been very impressed so far with with what I've seen of the Montreal Comic Con folks. They seem really good-hearted and really level-headed, and they really seem to have all their ducks in a row, which is important for something as big as a Comic Con.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's the plan. Whether that happens, well, we still have to get out of lockdown, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, but we're not going to know that until much closer to the date. I mean, there's just no way around it. I think right now the Winnipeg Comic Con is the earliest event we have in Manitoba right now that is actually running. No, I stand corrected. Gametoba, the tabletop gaming convention here in Winnipeg, is planning a November 5th to 7th in-person event.
November
So,
5th and 7th?
November 5th to November 7th.
That's after Comic-Con then.
Oh my God. I need something with caffeine in it. Yes, it is after the Comic-Con. So the Comic-Con is the earliest event right now that we have planned in Winnipeg as in person on the Fanish scene.
It's too bad because I used to be a board gamer, so I would like to have seen that. But I'm not staying for an extra week.
I've been to Gametoba. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun. But my husband actually bought me a premiere pass to the Winnipeg Comic Con. And I was just like, when I heard it was canceled the first time, I just went, oh God, no, here we go, act of God, membership canceled. But no, they rolled it. So
well, they would roll it, yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to invite, I'm sorry, go ahead, Terry.
No, that was it.
Okay. I'd just like to invite questions from some of the new people who joined us. Xavier, if you had any questions. Yes, please, Xavier. Xavier would like to speak. I think you can unmute yourself, Xavier, or Jani, do you have to do that?
Because of the incidents earlier, yes, I have to do that. If you want to speak, and I will unmute you, but if there's misbehavior, I will also boot you.
He's asked to speak. So please unmute him.
Yep, he's unmuted. Go ahead, Xavier.
Yeah, when does the Comic-Con event start?
The Comic-Con here in Winnipeg?
Yeah, because
I
I live there.
Oh, okay. I live there too. Hello.
Hi.
The Comic-Con, I believe, is
October
29th, 30th, and 31st.
Oh.
So the Halloween weekend.
Although they're talking if it's just a dealer's room, then it probably might be just that Friday, Saturday, just 2 days.
Yeah.
So
that might change, but you can go to their website, the Winnipeg Comic Con website, and you can see what they announce as they announce it. Terry knows more than pretty much than I do, certainly. Yo.
And that's why we don't let people speak.
Okay. Somebody Somebody's being an idiot. The hell is that?
That's too
Um,
bad. It started out with a reasonable question.
Yes, it did. Let me just go put him in the waiting room, and if he chooses to behave, he can come back.
Thank you, Janny.
Like he's got a cat on his keyboard.
Well, it certainly wouldn't be the first time that's happened to somebody,
Yeah.
No,
but
the only reason
Yeah.
I know this is because it's something our cat would do.
so
Oh, it
Terry,
used to
you're
be.
saying that they might just knock the Comic-Con back to strictly a dealer room and pop it back to a 2-day event?
Well, it depends on whether or not it's still the convention is still being used as a vaccination center.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Although the vaccination, I got my shot at the RBC and they were only using the first floor at that point. I don't know, maybe they've expanded to the second floor, but
Yes, they have, but I expect that to come down as more people get fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
So by the time we hit the end of October, they're saying that there should be enough people vaccinated in Manitoba by the end of August, beginning of September, that they're going to open everything else up again.
so end of
I'm
September?
assuming, yeah. So I'm assuming since they're at the end of October that it should almost always be. I don't even think they'll necessarily have the RBC as a center anymore for that.
Well,
Okay.
unless of course the Delta strain hits harder than they expect.
Yes, well,
But
even
we
then,
hope- no, go
if
for it.
everybody's vaccinated, it still works against D. So
Okay. All right, so there you go. So our Comic-Con might be truncated to a 2-day event, but even that is better than nothing at all at this point.
Well, yes.
I will
Oh,
tell you
yeah.
one advantage of being in the UK. The NHS has an app which records all of my vaccinations, and therefore I can prove my vaccination status very easily on my phone.
Ah, see, here in Manitoba, they're talking
As
about
opposed
issuing,
to a piece of paper that might be forged.
yeah, they're talking about vaccination cards here in Manitoba with a QR code. But unless they put other security features in, I'm not sure how good that's going to be.
hi, I'm on a meeting, so make it brief.
So yeah, what part of the UK are you in?
I'm in Slough, which is very close to Heathrow Airport and very close to London.
Oh, okay. Taylor has a question. My mic is a little loud though. Taylor, could you type it into the chat room here and we'll convey it to the group?
Actually, I've allowed Taylor to unmute.
Oh, okay, so Taylor, you can unmute if you like.
Yes. So, where do y'all get your vaccines at? Because to come to the Comic-Con, I think I need mine.
Are you in Winnipeg? Okay. What you do is do a search online for Manitoba COVID vaccination. That should get you to the page that has the 1855 number where you phone to make an appointment. And at that point, they will talk with you to assign an appointment that's convenient to you at a location that's convenient to you. Carl, that actually sounds really cool. Carl just said here in New York, we have the Excelsior Pass. That just sounds too cool for school. But yeah, Taylor, that's the best way to do it is just to phone, in my experience, you just phone the 855 number and they will get you the appointment. Husband and I both had our first shots. I'm getting my second jab in, I think it's July 15th, and my husband is getting his on June 23rd. So we will then be fully hybrids and allowed to, enter the community. Oh, there it is. Thank you, Rebecca. Rebecca just posted a link to the Manitoba COVID vaccination site in the chat room.
Taylor
I
left,
actually ended
so-
up muting. I actually ended up muting, but the Excelsior Pass is our app. New York has its own app because our federal government won't create one. So all the
Yeah.
states have to do their own. So it's similar to what the NHS does, but for New York.
Uh-huh.
One thing we do have here that I've noticed, and I just noticed it because I was like muting stuff on my phone to do the Twitch TV stuff, is I now on my phone have an app that I did not put there, which is basically it's something like an accountability app where basically you log in, allow it to track your location, and it tells you when you've been near somebody who tests positive for COVID. So
Yeah, that's
that could be helpful.
It's contact tracing,
Yeah,
which
it's a contact tracer.
unfortunately we basically don't do any of in the US.
Mm.
They have that in the UK, but it's only as effective as the people who register where they're at when they.
Exactly.
If they fail to do that, it doesn't much matter.
No, it doesn't
And
work.
it only works on certain phones. If you have an older phone, it won't work. Yes, Carl, we can
This
see
is the
your
New York
phone.
version of that as well. It uses the Google anonymity thing. So theoretically, they don't know where you personally are, but they can tell you that you were near somebody else without telling you who it was that later reported being exposed.
Covert Beach is also saying that the International Air Transit Association is also developing an app for that. So, you know,
I mean, nobody will ever match China with their minute-to-minute surveillance of every single person. But
well, hopefully by the time the Winnipeg Comic Con rolls around, the need for that will be pretty much eradicated.
We hope.
No, it's not going to be eradicated.
Well, I mean, eradicated in the sense that we won't necessarily have to worry about it as much. I mean, what I've heard is that they're talking about annual COVID vaccinations, basically the same way they do the flu. Oh, really cool piece of information. Because of all of the masking and stuff that people have been, and the social distancing that people have been doing with COVID, 2 strains of flu have gone extinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
The guess about a year is just that. It's a guess. I actually do panels at PhilCon with a guy who's a virologist who specializes in zoonoses and viruses transferred from animals.
Yeah.
And what he tells me is that figure of 1 year is a complete guess. It's only been a few months. We don't know how long the vaccines will work. We have to wait and see how long they last. Could be 20 years. We don't know. Like measles vaccine is 20 years.
Yeah. So the only way we'll find out is when the cases start to spike again.
Well, I mean, they're going to check antibody levels in a month. Basically, yeah, we're going to see when people start getting reinfected or breakthrough infected.
Yeah.
It looks like over a year. The current evidence, there's no reduction in effectiveness after the few months that the vaccine's been out. It's only been half a year yet. We really don't know what'll happen in 6 more months.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, we are still moving ahead with plans. We are still, you know, working with the powerful assumption that come 2023, we're going to be able to hold an in-person event. You know,
I mean, science ain't going to stop either. So in another year, we'll have better vaccines, almost inevitably, because that's how science works. So the vaccines are not going to stop working because the virus is mutating. You know, we're going to keep working on those too.
Yeah, and as I said, you know, the talk is that it might be a case of, you know, every you know, July or August or whatever, you go in and you get your COVID jab the same way you get a flu jab. So, and that's not such a bad, you know, prospect really, you know, if that's the price we pay for immunity.
The other half of it is that, you know, treatment is getting better. So now even if you get it in a year, it's probably not as big of a deal because there'll be better antivirals and better treatments for it.
Yep, exactly.
Except that the strains are getting more deadly as well. I've heard people freaking out over Delta. So,
and yet the evidence doesn't actually show any increase in severity once someone is ill. It's just more transmissible.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily suit a virus's purposes to inevitably kill the host.
No, of course not. But you're also
doesn't carry their weight usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the virus doesn't know, right?
Yeah. All kinds of variables in the air, if you will.
And a lot of people I've talked to in science fiction fandom internationally have said that they're going to continue to wear masks to events even once COVID is, you know, under control, just because, you know, it'll cut down on con crud if nothing else.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yay, you know, no more concrete. That would be an amazing thing.
I certainly plan to wear a mask whenever I fly, why not?
Yeah. You know, oh yeah, when you're in an enclosed space like that with people. Although I've heard somewhere, I was reading an article that said that actually airplane air can be safer than air in just a regular room.
It is because of the HEPA filters that they use. What's the problem are the airports and what you have to go through in order to get to the airplane.
Yeah.
Because the recirculation rates in airplanes are rather high. And they do use HEPA filters, so that's good. Yeah, and I personally plan to wear a mask because I like having gone nearly 2 years without catching the cold.
Rebecca Downey says, I'm hopeful that masks become part of our North American culture, wearing them in crowds or if you're sick should be normalized.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, I've allowed people to unmute themselves again because I think our bombers have finally given up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unmute, be free, be plenty, chat.
Covert, the airlines did cut down on recirculation, but then they brought it back to save money. It does cost extra fuel to use all outside air. So I don't know that there's any permanent change made.
Yeah.
I used to work for a company that made those HEPA filters, so I may have slightly more knowledge than the average non-airline person about that particular subject.
Definitely.
Those filters are incredible. They will stop 100% of virus going through them, but not all the air goes through them because some of it will go for the person next to you directly to you. But it's a really effective technique. It's not perfect.
Mm-hmm. But you're saying that in order to use them in a COVID situation, they have to use outside air?
No, the airlines prefer to use some outside air because it ends up, or prefer to use as little outside air as possible, I should say, because it costs them money to heat it up enough to breathe. It's very cold at high altitude.
Oh yeah.
So they recirculate as much as they can without carbon dioxide level getting super high, just to save money, to save fuel. It's a huge expense for them as fuel.
It seems logical, though, that you would wear a mask in an airport or even on a plane because the person next to you could be carrying the virus.
Or any
so,
disease.
Yeah.
Too.
Yes.
Well, they're pretty strict here in Manitoba. Like I started coughing shortly after KeyCon and I've basically been, I can't legally leave my apartment kind of thing. You know, it's like I've been grounded by the biggest parent ever until the cough stops for 24 hours or more. And so it's like, but you know, what are you going to do, right?
An interesting thing with masks going forward is probably we should investigate how cheap can we get transparent masks, because I know many people in fandom who depend on being able to read lips. And masks are actually an accessibility issue for them.
Yes, yeah,
there's actually quite a few mask makers now who are doing the transparency thing, I've noticed.
Terry, here's something we might want to think about, although we're way early to think about it right this second, but how far apart will panelists be able to sit in our venue? Because 3 or 4 or 5 feet of separation makes a huge difference in terms of any transmissibility.
Yeah.
If COVID restrictions are still in place, they're basically at 50%. That's what it comes down to. And if that's the case,
one of the issues with transparent masks is they tend to be hard, and they tend to hurt your face if your face isn't made their size. Because John's thinking, oh, this will be great. He's not impressed. And actually, all they basically have for filters is foam pads, which is nice, but it's not that good.
Yeah.
So they have to work on that still a bit.
Well, and it is also, as Covert was saying, it's an accessibility issue, really. It's a matter of, how well can deaf or hearing impaired convention members communicate with other convention members if they can't actually see the lips moving. Oh, and yesterday, one of the things that was mentioned, I don't know if I was supposed to send somebody a link or not, or if someone got the link, was to a local Winnipeg person who does Fanish masks and custom things and might be able to do a custom Winnipeg in 23 mask.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool for DC if we all had those.
I think, aren't we already working on that?
I don't know who is. I mentioned the person, and I do remember the
No,
link
no.
showing up in the chat,
No.
but I don't know who took it.
Janie, are we already working on that? Because I thought I mentioned it at some meeting we had.
Yeah, I think we had said we were looking into it, and we would see if we could get some with both to sell as a souvenir, but also to wear for all those people who are working the parties and things like that.
Mhm. Let me see if I can find that link again, just in case, because I know that Zoom doesn't save the chats.
Well,
Um,
actually, if we are recorded, yes, it does, but you'll probably find it faster than I will sorting through the files.
Okay, just let me grab it here. Got it. I'll pop it into the chat. It's just basically, it's facebook.com/enchanting fabrications, all one word. And there it's in the chat.
Cool. We have somebody named Will Noah in our waiting room. I will, because I'm an optimist, will allow him in, but I am also removing everyone's ability to unmute on their own. So if you need to be unmuted, raise your hand, please.
Because the YouTube stream didn't work, I put a link to this on YouTube. I wonder if people may have seen it as a YouTube thing and jumped in.
Okay.
I wonder if related to Mick Noah.
Probably they have similar email addresses.
Will, you're not gonna be able to unmute at the moment because we're in lockdown, but please say hi in the chat.
So yeah, so I put the Enchanting Fabrications link into the chat, and so anybody who wants to can check it out. I'm sure that she will give a discount for mass orders. Her, I'm trying to remember, I think my custom mask from her cost like $10 or $15. But as I say, if you're doing it in bulk, I'm sure that that'll cut the cost quite a bit. One thing I did want to ask was, is there a comic strip coming up showing potential voters how to support us in the Worldcon site selection vote?
We will have a comic coming up. What rate that's going, at what speed that's going to be done is kind of a little bit up in the air because Phoenix right now is buried.
Swamped.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had also suggested that we might get Kevin Stanley to do a brief video on the subject. He had a very successful video for the business meeting that I've always been fond of. So, and he knows it as well as anyone on earth.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Covert, yes, we are planning a virtual, let's call it a hybrid convention.
Yeah. And by the way, you're still unmuted.
Okay.
I know, but I was being polite.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. And Will left. Okay. Yeah, we're planning something along those lines. As a matter of fact, I would like to actually see how far we can push it in terms of hybrid. Yes, it's very easy to do all virtual, an item that's either all virtual or all physical. Trying to do a mix is difficult, and I'd like to see whether or not we can push that. I mean, there are some formats that are easy to, for instance, readings are easy because one person on the screen and you can, but I'd actually like to see whether we can introduce some element of audience interaction with people not present. I'm being a dreamer. I'm being a dreamer. I know that, but given
it will require some serious tech work to get it working properly.
Yes,
and
but
I don't expect it for every room.
No,
but we might have some designated room that
no,
is.
but Linda,
yeah.
I've been thinking about it, and yes, it will require some work. It would be probably a limited number of rooms. Assuming you say have 20 tracks, I'd say no more than 6 of them, or even 8, maybe. Because there's the cost element and the staffing element. Because doing that is going to be really manpower intensive. Sorry, staffing intensive.
Yeah, because it requires constant monitoring by the techs.
Yeah. On the other hand, techs are plentiful if you're going worldwide. the actual hosting, because I mean, you'll still need in-person tech, but a lot of the load can be offloaded to offsite. I mean, we had to experiment, and I think we have a chance to actually just think about that before we even win the bid, if we win the bid. Because I have talked to both the DC and Chicago people, and neither of them have committed to doing anything like that yet. So,
Well,
we could
also,
actually-
I mean, who knows what kind of tech innovations are going to be coming up by 2023? There might be
Right,
some
and
stuff
whether
coming along
those
that's gonna-
prices go down.
yeah, and
Because again,
and
it's also a money factor.
yes,
Yes.
but when we did at TorCon, we did we talked to the space station direct, and for that cost, we can do 40 to 50 Zoom licenses for 1 month. So the cost will come way down. So it's fiscally doable. It's not cheap, but it's doable, and it's more a question of whether we have the will and the staffing, the people points.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa and this
Charges are the classic problem.
Discon is basically looking to have 2 tracks that
Yeah.
are 24 hours and basically a virtual convention.
Yeah.
And she's recruiting tech staff from around the world to handle the virtual tracks because they don't
Yep.
have to be there.
Yep, exactly.
And they'll have a couple of tracks of live in addition to streaming major events like the Hugo's, the Master.
Yeah.
And the,
But as far as I know, Discon is only planning to do all virtual for the virtual element aside and streaming. Streaming is already being done at the Worldcon level. You know, the Hugo's and
well, no, she told me just recently that they're looking at for interactive, but they're at least going to broadcast a number of in-person panel rooms.
yeah,
We'd like to have it be more interactive because again, we don't want to run 2 parallel conventions at the same time. We'd like to integrate them as much as possible.
it may be a pipe dream, but I think people are expecting more more virtual elements now. You know, given the last year and how many Zoom, I don't know about you, but I've been on probably a couple of hundred Zoom calls now at this point. So people have gotten used to this and may even be expecting it.
I
but
believe
again,
that interaction is technically doable. Your constraint is actually hotel bandwidth.
yes.
Yes, definitely.
You negotiate well up front and from the beginning. Hotel bandwidth charges will eat you out of house at home.
Yeah, but you know that's part of negotiating a contract, and you know I'm sure they will charge us a bomb in the leg, and we'll just have to consider that. Yeah, you're right. The internet charges are not going to be cheap, but the bandwidth considerations are maybe a bit lower than you think.
Oh, video codecs are way better than they were 10 years ago when I was setting up video conference networks over ZipperNet.
Yeah.
Carl just posted to the chat, we should consider inviting Joan Slunkowski,
I believe.
oh, thank you,
Yeah.
who has written books about virtual reality and education. I'm curious how her real world experience, she's a professor, match up with her speculations.
Just seems like a fun programming idea, assuming, you know, that we can invite anyone we want. She's not based in Manitoba, so it's not necessarily easy for her to get there.
Yeah.
Of course, we have to win in order to do any of this. So that's why
That's another
we're encouraging people to encourage their friends to vote as well as themselves.
Yep, exactly. You know, and as we pointed out in last night's Zoom event, even if you say, well, I'm not sure I want Winnipeg as the first choice. I'm not sure that, you know, they've quite, you know, got me on the first choice. Put a second on the ballot, because if it's a case where none of the bidding cities get 51% of the vote, those second votes are, the second ones down are going to become critical.
Yeah.
So I agree, Rebecca. It sounds like she would be definitely a perfect guest for that. Well, if we're talking about virtual guests, I'd love to get Frank Albo in as a guest. Frank Albo does the Hermetic Code tours of the Manitoba legislature, and I'm sure he could do just a kick butt presentation about, you know, all the Hermetic symbolism that's built into that tremendously great building and so on and so forth. And I think, pardon?
Does that museum have a 3D tour already that he could narrate?
That's what I'm wondering. Or if he might even be in the process of creating a 3D tour. I haven't talked to him since I took his course a few years ago. But yeah, I mean, if he's got something like that, I mean, in the virtual age, that would only be smart. You know, he might consider running it for us, and that would be a really cool, like, Manitoba tie-in in the programming. Just checking to see, nothing in the chat. Is anybody keeping an eye on YouTube?
The YouTube stream didn't work out. We're still within the 24-hour wait before you're allowed to stream period for that account.
Did you post anything to YouTube though, directing them here?
I'm pretty sure that's where the Zoom bombers came from. They saw the link on YouTube.
Okay, but I'm wondering if there's any like posts on the YouTube thing that you posted.
On the video?
Yeah, yeah.
The difficulty we're always going to have is the more public we make the connection, the more likely we'll get Zoom bombed by people.
But that's what that's what the
don't
boot
have anything
function
better
is
to
for.
do.
That's what the boot function's for.
Yeah.
We can't let them scare us off. No comments.
No. No comments yet? Okay. Thank you, Carl.
No, I mean, no, for Conzilla, we all got special training how to boot people who are Zoom bombing you.
Yep.
And it's so easy. Off you go. But does anyone else have any points they'd like to bring up?
Vote?
Vote. Exactly.
Volunteer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell your tell your friends.
Yeah. Get your friends to vote.
Yes,
get your friends to vote. Get your friends to volunteer. Volunteer yourself. I know it said that friends don't let friends volunteer, but in this case,
Yes,
that's
they
a lie. Volunteer.
It's a lie. It's a lie. Yes, they do.
Volunteer. You can also, we've posted the links in the chat, but those are going to go away. If you search for Winnipeg Worldcon in 23 on Google, we basically take up the first page of Google results. So you can find our social media there. You can find our main website. Check us out. We have a Twitch TV channel, Winnipeg in 23. Check that out as well. There are broadcasts there every Sunday at 1 p.m. CDT, which is Winnipeg time. And we are having a Zoom social on the second Sunday of every month and a Discord social on the fourth Sunday of every month. So you have an opportunity to both watch our podcast and also to come and interact with the big committee in real time. So I don't see anything else in the chat. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add at this point? Terry already said vote.
or volunteer. Well,
or volunteer.
Yeah,
the two V words. Vote
yes.
and volunteer. Which oddly enough looks like two fingers held up. Vote and volunteer.
Oh, goodness. No AC, Robbie.
That sounds horrible.
Oh, my goodness.
80 in Britain? Really? Yikes.
It's their form of a heat wave, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is.
You know, actually, we have quite a few heat waves here in Manitoba around this time of year. Best solution I've ever found is, it sounds counterintuitive, but have a nice hot shower. When you step out of it, you feel so much
Yeah.
cooler, you know, so. We don't have AC in our apartment either, so
Uh-oh.
yeah.
Manitoba does have air conditioning,
It
right?
does. Oh yes, Manitoba has lots of air conditioning. It just happens that our air conditioner broke last summer and we haven't we've been too busy to get it replaced.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I lived in Michigan in the 80s. You didn't really need air conditioning, though there were 2 weeks when you wanted it. When DC summer came up to Michigan for summer vacation, and then it went away.
We should point out that Winnipeg, a lot of the downtown hotels and stuff are connected by skywalks. You can get up through a fair amount of downtown Winnipeg using the skywalk system. So even if it's pretty warm, you can travel in air-conditioned comfort, as they used to say in the 50s. And yes, all Winnipeg hotel rooms that I know of have air conditioning, at least at the hotel level that we're talking about. So, oh, and Janine just said, ouch. Oh, 1950s home, no shower. Oh.
Yeah, I spent the majority of this week without any air conditioning, and we suddenly spiked into the 90s, and we've been having anywhere from 65 to 90% humidity for the last 6 weeks.
Which means, of course, that sweating does you no good whatsoever.
Nope. Went to bed with an iceberg.
Yep. I pretty much, we have ice packs in the freezer, and like those long things filled with like grain or corn or stuff that you can just like wrap around the back of your neck to drop your temperature. But yeah, but anyway, Winnipeg is not too bad in the summer. It can have some days that are really, really hot, but for the most part, you know, it's okay. You know, we're kind of starting to head into fall, and especially toward the end of August, the temperatures are going to slowly start doing this. So does anyone else have anything else to add?
I guess we should make sure that we put the averages of the temperatures for the time period onto the website.
That's probably a good idea.
It's usually around 20 Celsius, which is about 70-ish Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Not for me personally, but
that's not bad.
Our members might be interested in, potential future members, does Manitoba have Airbnb or RV facilities?
There are Airbnbs in the area, but of course, it all depends on who's doing what when and what will be available or not. It's not something that we were looking at trying to set up for inside the booking system.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you asked about RVs?
Yeah, RV facilities, places where if you travel by RV, you can just park it.
Yeah.
Because during KeyCon, or no, it wasn't KeyCon. I think it was during Balticon, we had somebody at our Zoom social then who came in and was talking about driving.
Yeah.
And she had an RV. And so I think what I remember of that conversation, what was said in that conversation,
we found
was that
that
the RV parking is outside of the city center where we are. But the advice was to park outside and then just commute in, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm doing a search right now for RV Parks Winnipeg.
So if you spent $20,000 or $50,000 on an RV, you're going to want to travel in it. So I'm just wondering if those folks.
Yes, exactly. That was her point, because it was a present that she had gotten like 20 years ago, something like that.
Oh, okay.
In Winnipeg at 2695 Main Street, which is basically one bus ride from downtown.
Right.
The Northgate Trailer Park.
Yep.
Which has a 3.6 out of 5-star rating as an RV park. The other two RV parks I'm seeing, one is in Ile-des-Chênes and the other one is in Dugald, which are both outside of Winnipeg proper.
Now, a lot of people tow a car behind their RVs. They'd be able to travel around once they park the RV.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, if they've got the full multi-purpose RVs and the extra car tow at the back, then they're almost certainly going to be able to facilitate them outside of the city. It's just not, there's nothing downtown or close to downtown.
No, I'm only actually seeing 3 RV parks, 1 in Winnipeg and 2 close by.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to see if there's another list here with campground reviews that says RV parks, top 7 campgrounds near Winnipeg.
I also know some friends here in New York who might go by renting an RV and traveling together as a road trip. I've known them to do that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be fine. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yes, as
Says
long
the
as you have
person who
safe
does not
drivers.
actually drive.
Yes, I can remember very distinctly that in the early 80s, I think it was 82, when the Chicago Worldcon, one of the Chicago Worldcons was happening, that some fans from New Brunswick decided to take a van, and they rented a van, and one of the drivers was not what one would call safe. And they ended up in a ditch. And everybody was very annoyed when they got there. And it was agreed that that person would not be driving on the way back home.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, I've done that where you know we've had people who are good drivers, and I've done it where I think that when I went to the Denver convention, when I was living in New Brunswick, one of the people who was driving had told me he had a driver's license, had not told me he got it 2 weeks before we left. And I distinctly remember waking up, looking out the front windshield of the car and going, I think you should back off from the back of that truck, because he was practically up touching it, and it was a rainstorm, and the wipers were going like mad, and you could barely see what was going on, and I almost had a heart attack myself. So we spent a lot of time with me doing most of the driving.
Oh man. One thing
So there are people who do that kind of thing because there is a sort of Venturi effect. They can improve your gas mileage, but the rainstorm is not the time to attempt that.
No, let us just say that when I looked out the front windscreen, I could see the edges of the truck, and that was it.
Oh.
You know, and we're not talking a little deuce and a half. We're talking a great big semi.
Oh God.
And so it was definitely an interesting experience.
That's actually too close if you're trying for the effect I described.
Yes, it's too close for anything.
Anything, exactly. One thing I would like to point out is that there are a lot of things that are within a 10 to 15 minute bus ride or car drive from downtown Winnipeg. Osborne Village, which is just over the river from downtown Winnipeg, has a lot of quirky little shops, plus a big Sobeys grocery store. So if you need to get like food and stuff, you can go there. Corridon Avenue is just a little ways further down in that direction, and it has a tremendous patio and nightlife scene. St. Boniface is just over the river on the other side of downtown, and it is the largest Francophone community in Canada outside of Quebec. And I have to mention Miss J-Law's Fur Babies Cat Cafe and Adoption Center, which is about a 10-minute bus ride from downtown Winnipeg over the river again. And they have coffee, tea, snacks, and scores of cats who are just waiting to cuddle with you. So there's lots of stuff very close to downtown Winnipeg.
And I guess we should let people know that when we say over the river, people have to remember to ask which one, because the Assiniboine and the Red connect right in the center of town.
At the Forks.
At the Forks. And if you say over the river and they give the wrong direction to their taxi driver or the person who's driving them, they could end up in a whole different area of the city.
Which will still be probably very interesting, but not exactly where they wanted to go.
Exactly.
Also downtown, we have a number of really great pubs and restaurants, and we have the Manitoba Museum with an attached planetarium. Tremendous shows at the planetarium. And the Exchange District, which is called, I mean, Winnipeg, a little tip, Winnipeg is often called the Chicago of the North because our Exchange District architecture is very similar to downtown Chicago architecture. And we're often used as a stand-in for Chicago in film and TV, and Winnipeg is a major film and TV center. So I still remember we used to rent space in a building in the Exchange District. And we were very careful whenever there were film crews in the area because they weren't supposed to attach to the building electrical sources for their power, but they did anyway. So basically, around, 9 or 10 p.m., we'd kind of shut our computers down and wait for the lights to dim and then come back up as the film crews disconnected from the power mains. It was one person in our studio actually got his computer burned out that way. He forgot to turn off at the right time and the power surge just, fried it. But yeah, there's a lot of filming that goes on in the Exchange District.
Yeah. But unlike Chicago, we do not have, or even Minneapolis, we don't have any highways that actually run through the center of the city. And
make it impossible for a pedestrian to cross over.
Yeah. So that there's each intersection has pedestrian crosswalks, and there are no highways or anything that go through the center of town. There are main roads, but the speed limit is 50 kilometers, which is close to 30 miles an hour. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically you can get around downtown Winnipeg on foot very easily. There's a lot within accessible distance, and at least at the time of this filming, there are also plenty of like dollar stores and things like that, where if you suddenly find you've forgotten something, you can usually go and get it. The one thing downtown Winnipeg lacks right now is I think there's one grocery store downtown, and I think it's near the Place Louis Riel. But the closest big grocery store is probably the Sobeys is probably either, it would be the Sobeys in Osborne Village.
Yeah.
But it is very close. It is very close. You can't even walk there from downtown. It'll take you about 20 minutes, but you can walk there.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a Shoppers Drug Mart there as well, plus a liquor mart.
And there's also a liquor mart in the Eaton Place, City Place thing. So
there's also a drugstore there as well, Rexall. Yes.
And those are connected by the Skywalk to the Delta and the convention center that way.
Yes.
So
yes.
For small stuff, it's easy peasy. For bigger stuff, you'll probably want to get a car or at least take the bus one way and cab it back if you're going to go to the Sobeys or even go into St. B. It's about almost equidistant to go into St. Boniface to the No Frills and the Safeway that are just off of Provencher there.
In the Dominion Center you're thinking of? No, not the Dominion Center.
Basically, it's over the over the river, and a couple of blocks down, and it's on the main bus route. So if you really did it, unless you were buying frozen stuff, you could buy your stuff and come back by bus as well.
And if you run into any medical issues, heaven forbid, right across the river, right next to what Linda was just talking about, is St. Boniface General Hospital.
Yes.
So you're very, very close to not only a hospital and an emergency room, but one of the top cardiac units in the province.
And the city has a lot of walk-in clinics as well, so you don't have to worry about that sort of thing.
We also have minor injury and illnesses clinics. If you don't feel like going to urgent care, you can go to one of those. Terry, you were going to say?
Sadly, I have yet to see a Worldcon that hasn't had at least one medical emergency. So
yeah,
it's going to happen because it's so large numbers.
Large numbers, exactly.
Yeah.
And
people forget to hydrate and things like that. So yeah, it's one of those things.
But if you guys follow and I'm sure you guys are already going to do this, you're probably going to have a St. John's ambulance contingent on site, right?
Probably depend.
It depends what arrangements we can make with them.
Yeah.
And how long they want it. They want us to.
Also Also,
have
there,
people on staff.
we may be contractually obligated to having to upgrade even from that to have something even more higher than that than just St. John's.
Okay,
We'll have to see. The contract
Yeah.
may require us to do something like that.
yeah. Well,
It's
I
not
know
uncommon.
well, I know for Icon, which is also held in the RBC Convention Center, they,
Yeah.
as far as I know, just had the St. John's ambulance.
Oh, okay.
But they might have had other people on call that obviously I would not have known about.
I have a question. As a US person, I'm not sure what the difference between a St. John's ambulance and another type of ambulance is.
Oh, St. John Ambulance is a organization that provides people with their proper training, so they're certified. And
For like things like CPR and stuff like that.
yeah, and then a regular ambulance is a regular ambulance. You know, you phone 911 and they send a regular ambulance to the emergency.
Wait a minute. So just to play off of Ruth's question, does that mean that the regular ambulance doesn't have an EMT on board?
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Okay, then how is that regular EMT different from the one from St. John's?
They have an ambulance at their beck and call.
Yeah, St. John Ambulance is actually think of it as a upgraded version of a security system, because they have all their CPR and even and they carry a personal kit with them, like a kit bag. But if you need to be transported to the hospital, they would call an ambulance for you. But it's just that's been the name of the organization for like 100 years.
Yeah,
So-
and they're
So
It
they're
never
the
occur-
people, they're not the transport.
Exactly.
Exactly.
it had never even occurred to me that you don't have St. John's ambulance in the United States.
No, we don't.
Mhm.
Oh,
No,
Keep
they're-
in mind, where I live, I actually have to pay a small preventive fee every month in order to ensure that if, God forbid, anyone in my household has to go to the emergency room by ambulance, that ambulance ride is already paid for, because if it isn't,
Mhm.
because of the US healthcare system, it's going to run into several hundred, if not $1,000 for that ride.
Mhm.
I
In
see.
Winnipeg, if you don't have coverage, it will cost you approximately $250 to go anywhere to any hospital in the city by ambulance. There's also something called a stretcher service, which is a non-emergency service. So if
Uh-huh.
you're with a broken leg or something and you have to go back to get your cast removed or something like that, and you can't fit in a taxi, you can get a stretcher service, and that's
Okay.
about $100.
Okay, Linda, when you say don't have coverage, are you talking Medicare as well?
No. Yeah, it depends on, see, every province is different, Terry.
Yeah.
In Manitoba, you're covered for most of your basics, but an ambulance ride is an extra charge.
Yes.
250
Okay.
sounds kind of steep, but
But
okay.
if you
Actually,
like
it's the-
Blue Cross, you might be covered under that or something like that. You can get extra coverage. It's
Actually,
just
Linda,
part of the
the
standard.
last time I had to go to emergency in an ambulance, it was 500.
But they dropped it down.
Oh, they
Believe
did.
me.
Okay. They did.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was
Yeah,
there
'cause
was
this
a
was- this
great
was
big
about-
screaming
this
and
was-
yelling by people, and they dropped it down to 250.
Because this was about 7 years ago when I went in with what I thought was a heart attack, and it turned out I'd won the lottery, and it wasn't. But it's just like, But yeah, basically,
Okay.
yeah. So, but the point is, you have St. John's Ambulance who can do on-site treatment, and then if it's really serious and you need to be seen by, professionals in a hospital setting, then they will call an ambulance and put you in that and send you to the nearest emergency or urgent care.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We have a question from Covert
Yes, we do.
regarding party arrangements and corkage waiver.
We're negotiating that right now. We don't know yet.
All I can
Sure.
tell you is the last time we had a set fee from each of the hotels that we were having parties in, and we paid the set fee and just covered it because it wasn't that much.
But that was also owned nearly 30 years ago. So
Yeah,
But
who
on the
knows?
other hand, Winnipeg remembers us and they really want us back.
Yeah,
So
but
I'm sure we'll be able to manage something.
we'll manage
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. It really wasn't that much in the basics, since the hotel that we were using at the time for our con suite, we pretty much just covered the entire hotel corkage waiver through the cost of doing the con
Where-
suite.
Where was the
So-
con suite in
At
94?
that time, it was in the Place Louis Riel.
Yes.
Was the Louis URL? Okay.
I
I
do
don't
have
know
a
why I
question.
don't remember that.
I do have a question though. Are you guys planning to centralize the party rooms at the Delta headquarters hotel, or are you going to like spread them out like to Place Louis Riel and Radisson and some of the other
It will
hotels in the area?
depend on how many people want to host parties.
Yeah. Also
And
it'll depend on how much the hotels want to charge us too.
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean,
That's why we get very good about using the word hospitality rooms rather than party rooms, because a party can get out of hand, and hospitality rooms are less likely to, and therefore our corkage and waiver and food and beverage fees get a lot less.
We have a post from Rebecca. If it helps, most non-professionals with any kind of first response training received it through the St. John's ambulance courses. Their certification is highly valued.
says someone
there
I
you go.
believe who has St. John's, don't you, Rebecca? No? Okay, I thought you did. Okay.
St. John's
I used to.
Ambulance
Sorry, Ruth?
works in the UK.
Oh, Robbie. Yep.
And your choice is Red Cross or St. John's Ambulance. They're both free services in the UK.
Mhm.
And neither one of them transports anymore, but St. John's Ambulance is from the Hospitallers of St. John way back. So that's where they come from. They're quite an ancient thing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, hospitals have been around since medieval times.
Yeah, but the Hospitallers of St. John were basically an entire order of people who look after others.
Mhm.
They were
So
particular order.
it's kind of like
Because, I
the
mean-
boys' school in Thurso was run by a teaching order of monks. And if you weren't a French-speaking boy, you got to go to the other Catholic school, which was taught by nuns who didn't have any teaching experience. It's that kind of difference, if you will.
There
You can
you
be
go.
willing, but you may not be qualified.
Speaking
St.
of
John's Ambulance is qualified.
Speaking of Roman Catholic and various other things, there are, if people are of the faith persuasion, there are a number of churches in downtown Winnipeg or very close by, where if you want to go to a service, you can.
Okay, how about synagogues? We're gonna get asked that question.
There is a synagogue right across the river.
Which river?
It is across the, I believe it is across the Assiniboine River. It is I'm thinking of the one, Linda, that is just off Sherbrooke. The Sherry Zenick Synagogue, I believe it's called. It is basically from downtown Winnipeg on a good day when the traffic is working in your favor. May the traffic gods be with you. It's about a 15-minute ride from downtown, and it's a large synagogue.
Would you just have to let us know which version of Judaism you're following?
Yes.
Whether
Yes,
you're Orthodox
Yes.
or
Reform or
etc.
conservative.
Former conservative, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And similarly, there is a mosque on Ellis about, I guess maybe a 10-minute bus ride away.
Yeah.
There's also a Buddhist temple near the Health Sciences Center, which is about a 20-minute bus ride away.
Yeah, no, the person
And-
I know who will ask the question is conservative, I believe.
Okay.
There's 3 separate synagogues in Winnipeg.
Mhm.
Okay. There's the congregation Sharei Sedek. There's the congregation Etz Chaim, and there's Edes Yeshurin Hersliya congregation.
Sherry
I'm really
Zedek.
bad at Jewish.
Sherry Zedek is the one I'm thinking of that is just off Maryland.
Yeah. They don't give addresses, but they pop them up on the map. They're all reasonably close to each other.
There is
Okay.
also a Quaker worship available if you are a Quaker.
I I know of at least one.
At the Westminster, they're not meeting in person right now, but they generally meet at the Westminster Housing Co-op on Maryland Street. Every second Wednesday of the month between 7 p.m. at the Center for Christian Studies at 60 Maryland. So we also have a Quaker congregation if you are leaning in that direction.
And for absolute fairness, there are also 3 mosques in Winnipeg.
Yes.
Yeah.
That we also have I'm sorry, go ahead while I look up the name for it.
There's also a Hindu temple, but it's quite far out. It's out,
no. We often have Christian services on site. So someone actually is a fan. There is actually a fan that I know who is a minister. So
I am a Wiccan priestess. Last year at the last Worldcon, we held a Wiccan ceremony in a park close to the downtown area. We also have the Humanists, Atheists, and Agnostics of Manitoba organization, if that's the way you lean, and they are very active.
Yeah.
So we've got that too. Basically, we pretty much have a lot covered here.
Actually, you know what I find interesting? There's also 3 Sikh Gurdwaras.
Wow, that's a lot.
So
That
it's kind of
explains
like
the
everything
Bangra.
comes in 3s.
Yep, that explains the Winnipeg versus everybody Bangra version.
Yeah.
I do have a question, and this is esoteric, and just because we're on this topic. So, any Ukrainian Catholic?
Yes.
Probably.
Let me just check.
Catholic. It'll be Ukrainian Orthodox. I'm pretty sure I saw one the last time I was there.
My son
It's
got
technically
his
Catholic.
wife in one.
We have the Consistory of Ukrainian Orthodox Church of Canada, the Ukrainian Orthodox Holy Trinity, and the Ukrainian Orthodox Cathedral.
But they're not Catholic.
Doesn't say they're Catholic.
Catholic is pretty much the same thing, oddly.
Yeah, there's only one Catholic.
Oh, and I can say
actually, I beg to differ because I frequently visit somebody who is Ukrainian Catholic. They do not, the Pope is not the head of their church. They follow a patriarch.
That's Ukrainian Orthodox then.
No, that's Ukrainian Catholic. They are not Orthodox. She's very clear on that point.
There's a difference between Ukrainian
I
Catholic
suspect
and
It's a separate schism, yeah.
Yes.
Separate schism.
I suspect in some ways that's a bit,
Hair splitting.
what's the phrase? But let's put it this way. I found 3 Ukrainian Catholic churches and 3 Ukrainian Orthodox churches. So I think you're covered.
You're covered. Also,
again, it seems to come in 3.
Also, a 15 to 20 minute bus ride from downtown Winnipeg. It's a 1 bus ride on the number 18 bus route. At the cordon of Stafford Street and Cordon Avenue, which I mentioned earlier, we have St. Ignatius Parish Roman Catholic Church, which has been there basically since dinosaurs ruled the earth. And
St. Boniface probably has its own version of same, because St. Boniface, of course, was Catholic.
Yes.
To begin with.
It depends whether
probably
you
like
want
everywhere in Quebec. If you don't have a Catholic church, you aren't really Quebec. Archdiocese isn't really Quebec, despite being in Quebec.
It depends which language you want your faith to be.
Yeah, we have an Archdiocese of St. Boniface.
Yes.
And yes, and we have those. So there's a bunch of options there too. The chances are pretty good that no matter what your religious persuasion, you're going to find somewhere in Winnipeg who will welcome you and who will speak your language and understand your faith. So yeah, the pagans are a little bit harder to find because we don't have a centralized, we don't have a pope, as my husband says. So that's a little bit harder. But the pagan ceremony, the Wiccan flavored pagan ceremony at the '94 convention went over very well. I think that might be something to look at repeating.
Okay.
So.
Scarily, there's even 3 Kingdom Halls of the Jehovah's Witnesses in Winnipeg.
Yes,
there are.
Only 3?
I swear to God, Winnipeg comes in 3s.
There's also a whole bunch of, what do they call it? Non-denominational?
Yeah, there are even a couple that actually have 3 or 4 different denominations sharing one facility.
Yeah. There's the church. There's a church on Maryland, actually, very close to where the Quakers meet,
Broadway.
which is very much like that.
Yeah.
Is that the United Church?
I believe it is.
There's a number of different United churches in the city, including one with a stupendously gorgeous pipe organ that's still working. But it's really funny because there are certain areas of the older part of the city where there's a church almost every second block
Mhm.
of some denomination or another. And sometimes you get things like you'll get
Only
Sure,
only every second block, Linda?
yes, because we don't have great big long blocks like you people elsewhere. We have rectangular blocks, and they're much smaller than what the average American city has. So like
Certainly smaller than anything LA has.
yes.
You have to leave space for the rectory. I mean, the priests and ministers need somewhere to live.
That's why that's there's on one corner, there are some places in the city where there is religious, either a refectory or a church or another facility on every corner of a particular street.
I will
so
go ahead.
it's
Sorry.
interesting.
I will point out, just for those who might be interested, the Church of the Rock here in Winnipeg at 1397 Buffalo Place, which is quite a ways out there, but might be worth a visit if they are doing one of their special dramatic presentations. They do Christian-themed variants of things like Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars, Batman. They do some pretty amazing theatrical presentations. I'm just going to do churches downtown Winnipeg just to see what comes up. Oh yeah, here we go. Wow. If you search churches downtown Winnipeg, there's like crosses everywhere on the map.
Yeah.
There's just tons of them.
I didn't see
They want you to be like spiritual.
Yeah, I'll pop the link into the chat so you guys can see the map. It's actually it looks like pretty much oh man, that's a long link, but it'll lead you to that map. There's tons of stuff, including Roman Catholic, non-denominational, the United Church, the Evangelical Lutheran, Anglican. Yep.
Side question for you: do you have the Unitarians?
Let me check.
One that I recall.
Unitarians, Winnipeg. First Unitarian Universalist Church.
Okay, I didn't know if that was a particularly American thing or not.
It is located at 603 Wellington Crescent, which is right over the Assiniboine River, and
near the Sherazade.
Near the Sherazade, yes, exactly. So it's on Wellington Crescent, so it's not that far from downtown at all. And
there are Unitarian churches in Scotland. I've checked on that before.
Oh, whew.
So it's not just American.
I know 2 Unitarian churches here in Montreal. So
yeah, it looks like we only have the one here in Winnipeg. Because the other Unitarian search thing is Metabolic Fitness, which I do not think is a church. It is a fitness center. But no, first Unitarian Universalist Church is.
It works if your body is your temple.
If your body is your temple, there you go. Like mine, rotted and possibly, possessed by a ghoul. You don't know. But yeah, so anyway, there's a lot of different options there. So, I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, Winnipeg is a city where we speak 100+ languages. It's not surprising that we have a pretty good spread of religious options as well.
So now here's the other related question to that. If you have 100+ spoken languages in Winnipeg, do you have all the food?
Yes. I'm not sure what that's going to be like after the COVID decimation of restaurants goes, but yes, we have all kinds of ethnic and national groups presented on the culinary scene. And depending on when they hold it in 2023, Folklorama might be happening very close to Worldcon. The thing with Folklorama is that I'm not sure, it runs over 2 weeks, and each week has a different set of pavilions, and each pavilion is a particular nationality and culture. And the pavilion like has like, you know, dance performances, and they serve food and drink, and they have all kinds of like crafts and everything that you can explore. And so Folklorama, it had its 50th anniversary in 2019 with 455,000 guest visits. Folklorama is a big thing in Winnipeg. So if you want to sample like different kinds of national cuisine, Folklorama is a great way to do it, because you just go around to the different pavilions and just, you know, eat and drink and be merry. So, I mean, you pay a certain amount to get into the pavilions, but.
Yes, and you have to pay for your food as well. So.
But I'm sure they're worthy fundraisers to contribute to.
Yes, they are. Let me go back to Google itself and do Folklorama Pavilion charge. Pavilion charge. Okay, let's look at the El Salvador Pavilion. Oh, nope, that's a security risk. Don't want that. Pavilion entrance charge. Egyptian Pavilion, nope. It's still giving me a security thing, so Folklorama Home.
Folklorama ends the weekend before our date in 2023.
Well,
Okay.
you know, we do have move in and move out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we
So,
yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, so there'll be some people who will be here in time for Folklorama.
Yeah.
You know, that could be fun.
Extended on rates.
I mean, Tourism Winnipeg might even be able to give us a deal, as Covert just said, with convention rates for Folklorama. It might be part of that flash your badge thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
It's before you have your badge yet.
well, they might accept something else like proof of purchase of a badge, for example, or for proof of purchase of a membership, for example, you know, whatever they decide to organize, but that might not be so bad.
Yeah.
You know, come to Winnipeg a week early, you know, enjoy Folklorama. Okay, so did anyone else have anything else they wanted to talk about, bring up, convey to the people watching on YouTube?
We may mention that there is, although there's a wonderful polar bear exhibit in the zoo here in Winnipeg itself, that if there's enough interest, they would be organizing a special tour from Winnipeg up to Churchill to see the polar bears in their natural habitat, which, as we say, it's going to require a certain number of people to do so, but Winnipeg Tourism has already offered to arrange that for people.
And I'll tell the story I told yesterday. Fun fact about Churchill: people do not lock their cars in Churchill because at any moment you might encounter a bear and might require a certain amount of armor. Which is why none of the cars are locked. Also, part of the thing with Churchill is, where are you going to take the car?
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
If you decide to steal it, where are you going to go? There's no roads out of Churchill. So yeah, it's but the polar bear tours at Churchill are really awe-inspiring. It's tremendous. For railway people, we have a number. We have the Railway Museum at Union Station. We have Symington Yards, which is, what did they call it? The largest comparison or conversion?
No, it's
railway?
the largest classification yard.
What is a classification yard?
Yeah, a classification yard is where they sort the different train cars so that they form the train so that they can be delivered on the same route.
Oh, okay. Because all my railway loving friends have said you have to tell them about Symington Yards. And I was like, really? And they said, yes, it's the largest classification yard. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
now
basically where they put all of the trains together so that they can head out and deliver their products.
Okay. And then we also,
Winnipeg, because Winnipeg's in the center of the continent, it's also where if anything heading west will get their extra engines, because in order to get through the Rocky Mountains in Canada, you need 2 to 3 engines, depending on the length of your train.
Yes, yes, the Rockies are big. And
They're much
we
bigger than in most of the US. So
and we also have the Prairie Dog Central, which is a vintage railway, which you can take trips up north of Winnipeg on that. And of course, we have all the sports stuff going on. Live thoroughbred horse racing at Assiniboia Downs, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes baseball team, the Winnipeg Roller Derby League, which I think is really cool, and cricket games in Assiniboia Park that you can just go and enjoy the park and watch the games, and all kinds of things, Assiniboia Park is worth a whole day trip all by itself. So is the Manitoba Museum, actually, more than a day trip. There's the Manitoba Museum, in my opinion, aside from the paleontology section, the highlight is really the Nonsuch, which is a mid-17th century merchant ship, which has been basically recreated in its own gallery. And you can go on board and like go down below and look at where all the sailors lived and all that kind of thing. It's really a showstopper. And of course, laser light shows at the planetarium if you want to get your 70s and 80s groove on. They do like Queen shows, Lady Gaga shows, that kind of thing.
yeah, and the Human Rights Museum is easily at least half a day, if not more.
Yes. And of course, you can take river tours of Winnipeg if you want to see us as the place where two rivers meet, or you can take our trolley tours in the orange and white bus, which is really cool. I love it. Whenever I see that bus go by, it just brings a big smile to my face because it's so awesome. And there are also self-guided tours of various parts of Winnipeg, as well as moderated person-guided tours, where you have a group leader who will take you through all these parts. And the Hotel Fort Garry has a few haunted rooms that might interest people who are into the paranormal. 10-minute warning. So does anyone else have anything to add? No?
Out of curiosity, are liquor stores centralized there? Or are they independent?
Yes, the liquor
Okay.
stores are run by the provincial board. So you will have to go to a centralized distribution center.
And there
Except
is a
for
liquor.
wine. There are a couple of specialty wine stores that are independent from, but they're licensed by the province.
Yes.
And there's the microbreweries also have on-site as well.
Yeah, and at the Forks, they often have microbrewery tours where basically you sign up for it at the Forks and they will like bring little samples of the microbrewery stuff to you, and you can just sit there and sample different kinds of beer, and it's really great. So do the bid committee members have anything else they'd like to add before we sign off? Because I think we're down to less than 10 minutes.
Nope, just
Okay.
thank you very much for being our host, and we enjoy seeing everybody and answering all the questions.
Yep, and I would like to say thanks so much to everybody watching on YouTube for attending our second Zoom social event. We'll be holding another Zoom event on the second Sunday of July, and a Discord event is coming up on the fourth Sunday of June. In between, on the first and third Sundays of the month, we will be recording a full-length Twitch TV broadcast. So head on over to Twitch TV and subscribe to the Winnipeg Worldcon 23 channel. And unless anyone else has anything to add, I think that's it for today.
Oh, subscribe for updates
Yes.
at the Winnipeg website. So
Yeah.
we'll send you updates about what we're doing.
Yep, go to the contact us page, and in the body of the message, put subscribe updates, and you'll be put on the update list. Or put subscribe social to be put on the social notification list. I guess that's it. Thanks so much, everybody, for taking part. It was great to see you all. And for those watching here and on YouTube, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you all again soon.
Right. There we go.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to make sure you don't miss a minute of the excitement that's coming up from the Winnipeg and 23 Bid Committee. For a truly stellar 81st World Science Fiction Convention experience, vote Winnipeg in 2023 for a venue that offers all the big city conveniences combined with the best of hometown hospitality.